Trevi Fountain, supplied by water from the Aqua Vergine aqueduct, and a triumph of the Baroque style. It was based on the design of Niccolo Salvi and completed in 1762. In the fountain's piazza there is a not particularly spectacular church with a strange claim to fame. In it are contained the hearts and intestines of several centuries' worth of popes. According to legend, the church was built on a site of a spring that burst from the earth after the beheading of St. Paul at one of three sites where his head is said to have bounced off the ground. Here we are looking down the Via George Washington. The National Gallery of Modern Art. Since most of the shops are closed on Sundays, I took the opportunity to venture into some of the parks and the non-tourist related areas of Rome. Arriving back at Piazza di Spagna, where we find the world-famous Spanish Steps. Partly because of its position at the top of the Spanish Steps, partly because of its soaring Egyptian obelisk, and partly because of its lavish and perfect Baroque symmetry, this is one of the most theatrical piazzas in Italy. Flanking the piazza are buildings that have played a pivotal role in French politics for centuries. That's right, French, including the Church of Trinita dei Monti, begun by the French monarch Louis XII in 1502 and restored during Napoleon's occupation of Rome in the early 1800s. This azalea-flanked triumph of landscape design takes its name from the Spanish embassy, which was in a nearby palace during the 19th century. The Spanish, however, had nothing to do with the construction of the steps. Designed by Italian architect Francesco de Sanctis between 1723 and 1725, they were funded almost entirely by the French as a preface to the French church Trinity dei Monti. There are two nearly identical houses at the foot of the steps on either side. One is the home of Babington's Tea Rooms, the other is the house where the English romantic poet John Keats lived and died. In Piazza Barberini we find this fountain, one of Bernini's masterpieces, in honor of his great protector Urbanus VIII. Four dolphins support two valves on which is seated a Triton who blows water through a shell held up in his hands. From Piazza Barberini we walked up the hill to Quattro Fontane, four fountains, one for each corner of the intersection. As with so many of Rome's architectural treasures, the church at this site is undergoing renovations. From here we proceed down Via del Quirinale to the Presidential Palace. Crowning the highest of seven ancient hills of Rome, this is where Augustus's Temple of the Sun once stood. Part of the fountains in the piazza were built from the great baths of Constantine. In keeping with the style of Rome's treasures, here is one of the Bank of Italy's buildings. There are several five-star hotels in Rome. Here in Piazza della Repubblica, there are two half-moon-shaped buildings. One of the buildings houses such a hotel and overlooks a beautiful fountain in the center of the piazza. And at the end of the building, of course, is none other than a McDonald's. Under construction here is a group of new loft apartments incorporating the ancient facade from the previous structure. Throughout Rome, you see these continuously flowing water hydrants. Another of the huge piazzas in Rome is Piazza del Popolo. Unfortunately, this is not one of my investment properties, or I would still be there. Back for another visit to ancient Rome, we again toured the Palatine Hill. Along the back of the Palatine Hill was the Emperor's viewing area for Circus Maximus. Here I stand in the center of Circus Maximus, remembering scenes from the movie Ben-Hur.